The moon has always been much more than a celestial body. It's been a beacon in the night sky, a symbol of mystery, of hope, and of human curiosity. For millennia, it's been a muse for poets, a guide for sailors, and the subject of countless myths and legends. Its silvery glow has lit our way through dark nights and inspired dreams of exploration, adventure, and even love. From the first moment early humans looked up at the sky, they saw the moon not just as a lifeless rock, but as something much more powerful. But in the 20th century, the moon became something else entirely. It became the stage for one of the most audacious, reckless, and dangerous military plans in history. A plan so bold it might have changed everything we thought we knew about our closest celestial neighbor. In the 1950s, in the midst of the Cold War, a time when fear, paranoia, and competition between the superpowers reached a boiling point, the moon became a target for destruction. Act 1. The Cold War and the Space Race. To understand why the United States would even entertain such a catastrophic plan, we must first look at the world in the 1950s. The Cold War was at its peak. The world was divided between two ideologies: capitalism, represented by the United States, and communism, embodied by the Soviet Union. This ideological battle had already led to decades of political tension and military standoffs, but it was in the realm of space exploration where the Cold War reached its most intense and competitive peak. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching the first artificial satellite, Sputnik 1, into orbit. It was a moment that sent tremors of panic through the United States. If the Soviets could launch a satellite into space, could they also send nuclear missiles into orbit? Could they target the very heart of America from the stars themselves? The answer, the US feared, was yes. The Soviets were not just ahead in space, they were ahead in military capability. The space race had evolved from a technological challenge into a matter of national security. The launch of Sputnik was a wake-up call. It wasn't just a scientific achievement. For the United States, it represented the realization that the Soviets were gaining ground, not just in science, but in the power to control the future of warfare. The stakes could not have been higher. The United States needed a response, and fast. But how could they counter Soviet dominance in space? Act 2. The birth of Project A119. In 1958, in a top-secret meeting, a group of US military officials and scientists devised an extraordinary plan, one that would capture the world's attention in a way no one could have imagined. They decided to do the unthinkable. Imagine the message we would send to the world if we detonated a nuclear bomb on the moon. It would be the ultimate demonstration of American power. It wasn't just about space, it was about sending a message to the Soviets that we would dominate every frontier, even the heavens themselves. This wasn't just an idle fantasy, it was a fully conceived plan known as Project A119, officially titled A Study of Lunar Research Flights. Despite its innocuous name, the project was anything but benign. The mission was as simple as it was daring: to detonate a nuclear warhead on the moon's surface. The explosion would be visible from Earth, a public spectacle seen around the world. It was a statement, a show of strength, and a demonstration of the United States' unyielding dominance. Dr. Henry Miles, nuclear physicist, stated the idea was that the explosion would create a massive flash of light visible to anyone looking up at the moon. It would be like a signal fire in space, a declaration that the United States had the power to do anything. It wasn't just about science or exploration, it was about overwhelming the world with force. Act 3. The Science of Destruction. The logistics behind such a plan were mind-boggling. To send a missile to the moon, scientists needed to overcome a series of extraordinary challenges. First, we had to calculate the trajectory with extreme precision. The moon isn't stationary, it's in motion. It orbits Earth at a speed of over 2,000 miles per hour. If even one part of the trajectory was off, the missile would miss its target entirely. The missile had to overcome escape velocity, the speed needed to break free from Earth's gravitational pull, which is roughly 25,000 miles per hour. At the time, no space technology had yet proven reliable enough to ensure a successful launch. But perhaps the biggest concern was the weapon itself. The weapon chosen for the mission was the W-25, a nuclear warhead designed for intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. At just 1.7 kilotons, it was small by modern standards, but potent enough to create a flash visible across the globe. The W-25 was designed for efficiency. Its compact size meant it could be carried by an ICBM, and its explosion would send a bright, dramatic flash across the moon's surface. scientists theorized that the regolith, the moon's dusty surface, would amplify the explosion, creating a plume visible from Earth. Act 4. Carl Sagan's role in the plan. In a surprising twist, one of the young scientists involved in Project A119 was Carl Sagan, the future astronomer and advocate for peaceful space exploration. At the time, Sagan was a graduate student at the University of Chicago. He was tasked with calculating the effects of the nuclear explosion on lunar dust and how visible the explosion would be from Earth. He was asked to model the behavior of lunar dust. If they detonated a bomb on the moon, the dust would scatter, creating a brilliant cloud. The hope was that the explosion would be visible from Earth, showcasing our power in a way that no other act could. It's strange to think that a man who would later become the face of peaceful space exploration once helped craft a plan to turn the moon into a battlefield. Act 5. The ethical dilemma. As the project progressed, serious ethical questions began to emerge. Was it right to target the moon? Was it appropriate for humanity to scar the celestial body that had inspired generations of dreamers? Many people felt uneasy about the plan. The moon wasn't just a scientific object, it was a cultural icon, a symbol of humanity's aspirations. The idea of destroying it was to many a symbol of hubris, of pushing too far in the name of military dominance. Beyond the moral concerns, there were also practical fears. What if the explosion had unforeseen consequences? Would the debris from the blast-damaged satellites? Could the nuclear fallout find its way back to Earth? The risks were enormous, and the consequences of failure were unimaginable. Act 6. The turning point. In 1961, the focus of the space race shifted. President John F. Kennedy, inspired by the potential of space exploration, set an audacious goal to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Kennedy's goal was a turning point. It wasn't about using space as a weapon, it was about exploration, about the promise of peace and knowledge. His vision marked the death knell for Project A119. Act 7. What if Project A119 was quietly shelved, and the United States turned its attention toward a new mission, the Apollo program, which aimed to land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. By 1969, humanity's greatest achievement was realized when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took their first steps on the lunar surface. But what if the United States had gone through with Project A119? What if the moon had been scarred by a nuclear explosion? Had they succeeded, the moon would have become a permanent symbol of destruction, not hope. The explosion would have altered its surface, and the risks of space debris might have created a permanent hazard to future space missions. The legacy of the moon would have been forever changed, transformed from a symbol of wonder to a reminder of humanity's darker impulses. Today, the moon still shines down on us, a reminder of our potential for greatness. Its surface remains untouched, its mysteries yet to be fully explored. It's a symbol of what we can achieve when we work together, when we strive for knowledge, and when we reach for the stars. Not in fear, but in hope. The moon may have been a target for destruction during a time of fear, but today it is a symbol of humanity's greatest achievements. A reminder that, while we may face our darkest moments, we are always capable of rising to the challenge and turning our greatest dreams into reality. And so, the moon remains ever watching, ever waiting for the next great leap.